Why do you feel the Dutch picked up on Muay Thai and incorporating the Western boxing right away, where the Thais were just so linear? Do you think that's something physiological?
I have no clue. You know, I would say because we're a small country,
right,
and we want the world to know that we're there.
Right.
And for some reason, we really like striking. You know, you have events every week in Holland, whether it's a small or a big event. There's always fight. There's always Thai boxing events.
Right.
You know, so they just like it, and like you said, they tied the hands together with the legs, and I think that was the first country that did that, and that's why we also the first guys that went in Thailand. We hear me talking those guys and start beating the Thais.
I mean, someone like Rob Kamen, who kind of pioneered like both power and Western boxing. How did you look at him? Was he someone like, did you look at it and said, I want to do that, or was he more like a demigod to you when you first saw him fight? I was a huge Rob Kamen fight.
I remember me going to the Jaap Eden Hall. It's a place in Holland where they always would have the fights, and he would fight. He and Ernesto Hoos, they fought also there, many fights. They also had a show one time that they brought all the world champions from Thailand, and they fought at one night, 4 world titles. They all got knocked out. They went and it live streamed to Thailand, so that was the place to be. And I remember me jumping out of the audience in front of him, making a picture of Rob, and now he's a really good friend of mine.
Right, the late great.
It's funny how that goes.
The late great Sir Dekker.
Yeah,
passed away. How was he an influence to you?
Roman Dekkers was my total idol. I wanted to be like him. I wanted my fighting style to be like him. Explosive, super powerful. You know, he's pretty much the reason I started Thai boxing. You know, I was already Thai boxing, but when my buddy told me, check this kid out, he was like 14 years old. He fought like a 23-year-old or a 25-year-old. I remember, bigger guy. It was a last-minute thing, and I go, dude, he's gonna get killed. And he said, no, watch this kid. And he didn't do anything, He was really tiny, he had a little mullet in his back.
Right.
And suddenly one low kick, he was vlam! Boom. I go, holy crap. And that was my introduction to Roman Dekkers. And I said, I want to be like that.
I'm going to make a statement, and you tell me if I'm completely wrong. You and Tyson fought more square than parallel. Why did you guys fight more square into your opponent? Is it for more power purposes?
Power purposes. I always did it, and I'm using Tyson as an example so many times. Because in Thai boxing, they say, yeah, for MMA maybe your stance is good, but not for Thai boxing. I say, once you stand in one line, you're shutting down your weak side. Like if you're a normal stance, orthodox, you're shutting down your left, no power left kicks, no power left hands. No, you can't open with a hook. You can, but you have to load up or set it up at the right straight. But otherwise you have to load up, or it has zero power. So I say, why don't I fight like this? It's very simple, linear. If you stand like this, it's very good for movement to the side. One line forward, very good to move to that. Front and backwards.
Right.
This is the middle. This is exactly the middle. I can move as fast to the side as I can to go to the front. The only thing you're going to give up is that you're a bigger target here, because that's what they all say. I say, oh, so what you're saying? Oh, so you're scared? I say, go do some sit-ups, dude. Did Mike Tyson ever go down with a body shot? No, he did
never.
not. He's right straight. But he's got a power left hook. The jab is a straight now. It becomes a straight. I had a crash test dummy at National Geographic. I was kicking and punching, and they measured power. I hit a 1.1 with my right hand. It was harder than these guys were kicking. It was funny. And with my left, in my orthodox stance, I hit a 1. I was 10% off. These guys were freaking out. He says, why is that? I said, that's because of the stance. You know, because I got a power shot now. It's not a jab anymore. I always say fighting is very simple. If you hit somebody really hard in the head, defense will go up. And there's your next target. And it works the other way around. You know, jabs, I eat jabs. I take them in order to give a big right hand. But if you start throwing power shots at me with a left, I have to defend myself. I have to block them. And once I start blocking, things are opening up. And that's the reason.
Did you ever subscribe to the time mentality, or possibly the kickboxing mentality, where it's like, come on, let's exchange?
The exchange, I always thought that was a stupid thing to do. Okay. Because if you know, listen, I used to be, everybody's very well conditioned there. We can take a lot of beating here. But what if one goes through and it breaks a rib? fight's over.
Can't breathe. You're gonna feel like you're gonna die.
There you go. And plus, it's very dangerous. If they find out you broke your rib, they might stop the fight. They can punch your lung. You know. So I always said, don't do those kind of crazy things. A shot for a shot, a punch for a punch. We had one on Inside MMA. We showed this big guy. He got hit, and he puts his hands down, and he goes to the guy. Come on. The guy goes poof, and he's out.
Fell down.
And I go, you should never do that. You know, don't take risks.
For someone beginning, is it really the combination, or is it the automation of applying that combination?
For somebody beginning, we at my gym in Holland, we had a very high success rate. And they always ask me, why do you think is that? And we knocked a lot of people out, but a lot of people won. And I said, because I keep everything simple. Right. I give you a cross, a hook, maybe a body shot if you're up for it, but if you can't, you don't. Cross, hook, 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 cross already. I want to try to stay away from with beginners because a hook, many times they load up. Yeah, lead up. So I always like to open with straight punches, wrap it up with low kicks, and I will focus on these. That was pretty much it. I said, the only thing you're doing, you're focusing on your opponent, you're waiting, you're moving back, you stay out of his reach a little bit, just outside his reach. Let him throw punches. The more punches he throws, the more you can time every time to come closer, and he can find his distance.
And he can blow his wad too.
And also that. I said, and then you just aim. The only thing I want you to aim for is right there, the jaw. You want to go for the jaw. If you go for the body, hit exactly at the solar plexus. Now, once you start focusing on that, you automatically put yourself more in the game. And second of all, we all know that you can kick me here. I'm not going to go down. Here, different story. And a lot of people don't do that. And I still realize that from my first Thai boxing match, I just hit a silhouette, a person. I didn't aim. I always said if they would have, after I knocked him out with a body kick, a liver kick, spinning back kick to the liver. He went down. If they would have blindfolded me at that time, and they would have called in 4 other guys, and they would put them in one line, and they take the blindfold off, and they would say, "Who did you fight?" I would have not known who he fought. It was just a really weird thing, and that's what happens in the beginning. You're totally, you can't channel. It's like Superman, a lot of Superman, you know, with all the sounds that you can't channel. Right. That's in fighting, and once you power that, master that, and some people never do. But once you can control that, that's the trick to fighting. Once you can bring the game that you have here in the dojo, if you can bring that same game under pressure in front of an audience, you're going to be a good fighter.
Let's talk about a little bit of the difference between both Japan and Dutch, because I feel like in Japan, if you beat a Japanese fighter, they give you their baby to kiss.
It's amazing.
And in Dutch culture, you beat a Dutch fighter, then they're throwing beer bottles at you and chairs.
Yes.
Please elaborate on your time.
Well, and I think it's almost in every country, right? It's not only with the Dutch. You know, it's the Japanese. I was blown away by that. Sorry.
No.
The only person ever who went to Holland and got standing ovations in the beginning, they booed him because he fought a top Dutch guy was Benny the Jet.
Ortiz.
And and he started fighting, and he wasn't trained with low kicks. And my throat.
No problem.
So he got low kick. I mean, there was no way this guy was going to come out in the second round. Everybody thought, but he hung in there. And then he started coming back, and then and the willpower, the heart that he showed there, you know, it was like in the fifth and the final round, the opponent, the Dutch guy, started out spitting out his mouthpiece to get time, you know, and the people totally switched. I mean, they started booing the Dutch guy. They were like, he showed so much heart, Benny the Jet there, and then he stopped the guy also. That was an amazing fight. That was the first time that I saw a foreigner come in Holland and just totally swept the whole nation. Almost Rocky-like.
Right,
you know,
the switch from Drago.
Yeah, it was really like that. Man, they were booing the guy when he would spit out his mouthpiece. And he was the hero there.
Now, how about your experience in Japan? Because I know you did a little bit of pro wrestling, but if I'm incorrect, you had suffered an eye injury, a neck injury, and a possible shoulder tear? From pro wrestling?
From pro wrestling, yeah. First one, I broke a disc in my back. I cracked a disc. And the second time, I believe it was either an eardrum or a ruptured eyeball.
Right.
I had a blind spot here for like 6 weeks. And the guy goes, like, I can't see. And he goes, fight. And I go, dude, I can't see, fight.
Right.
I go,
silhouette time.
Now it's silhouette time. Just the guy in the middle, what they say. And then an eardrum. Because what happens in pro wrestling, you let him hit you. You let him do. Normally I will block those punches. So this guy with the open eyes go pop, whee! That thing is still broke. This is yeah, because if I fix it, I'm not allowed to fly for 6 weeks, which is pretty much with my job impossible. You know, I really have to schedule that. But still now, if I go to the deep in a pool and water goes behind it, it's a nightmare. I got to go in, they have to suck it out, because then you hear your own heartbeat. It's really annoying.
Dana White also has Meniere's disease, which is a little different.
Yeah, that's really heavy, I hear.
But I wanted to pick your brain, and if you don't mind sharing to the audience, is you have tons of bar stories. Maybe if you could share either the Swedish bar or the Galaxy. Fight times at the Galaxy.
5 times at the Galaxy.
Like, what was that like?
You know, we had a really good group of guys there. Smart guys. I mean, the head bounce was a really smart dude. It was a guy you didn't want to mess with, but it was really smart dude. And all the other guys was Kyokushin, an old guy, Kyokushin guy we had there. We had Commando Case, who was in the Commando. We would do all these routines all the time. Like, we would stand at the door the whole time. We were so bored, so I would suddenly throw a punch and he would like catch. And then we start building this whole little, you know, scenes, fight scenes, always. I was Base the Animal Steel, and he was Commando Case. It was funny because he's a tough guy, and he was a Green Beret in Holland. And many times when a soldier would come in, they would recognize him from the Marines. And they would go from the commandos in Holland. You go, oh my God, you know, they would be scared of him. Apparently he was such an ass and such a tough guy in the army. But great guys, man, great guys. And we had a lot of fun stories, you know. A lot of stuff happened there because they had more bars. It was one big bar, and when you would go upstairs with 3 doors, there was also where you could hang the coats. There was a special bar in the corner, another bar there, and that entrance went to the big one also. So it was an up and down, huge disco nightclub. Yeah, I mean, there's so many stories there.
How about one?
One.
Did you have to kick the shit out of like 4 or 5 kickboxers?
No, I never had that. No, not there. That was in Sweden, that fight. No, this one, what did I, you know, which one? A fun one was when a guy came in and he was a total dick, and he was with 2 girls, and he felt like he had to walk around the whole time with the 2 girls, and the girls were wearing how you call it, fur coats, and he was there. And I told him the coats had to stay in, and that was already a big problem. But finally they did it because I was not going to let him in. Okay. But now he didn't like me, of course. And then when he went through, I said, you need a stamp on your hand. And he goes like, you know me? I said, I don't know you. I said, there's 2,500 people in here. I say, you need a stamp on your hand. He says, no way, I'm not going to take a stamp on my hand. He was too big to get a stamp on my hand. I say, I can do it anywhere you want. You know, inside that nobody sees it, don't worry about it. No, he was the tough guy, doesn't need it. So see, once they do that, I'm going to be an ass too. Right. So he goes out, he comes back to take a fee, and he wants to walk in like, hey, can I see your stamp? He goes, I don't have one, man. So you got to pay entrance there.
And you weren't intoxicated at this point?
No, not me. I was working.
Right, okay.
I at the one time, which this is another story, it's really funny. That's something you should never do. Come back to that. That's fun.
Sure.
He's with the chicks again, and he's getting this whole problem. And suddenly he looks at his chicks both and he goes, excuse me ladies, I gotta take care of a problem. And I'm standing here and he headbutts me. But because he has the 2 chicks, he can't really put any power behind it.
Right.
So I get hit, but not really hard. So I fly back and I grab him and I go bang, bang. And he goes out and I look around and I go, did you guys see that? I gave him 2 back. And everybody was, yeah. And then we threw him out, of course. But it was the moronic, how stupid can you be, you know, holding 2 people and you can deliver a power headbutt. It didn't work out that way. Stuff like that happened a lot. The stairs down, of course. A lot of people went down that stairs, you know, if they...
On their own will, via drinks, I'm sure.
Yeah, you know, they would run up and then puff, go down. Many guys would wait for you. The bar would close at 5 a.m. And I'm waiting for you, And every time I would open the front door, they would still be waiting. I said, please wait, okay? We'll do it in a little bit. 5 o'clock, I'm out. Of course, nobody ever at 5 o'clock. They were always good. You know, they would stand there till 5 to 5, and then they start thinking, and they go like maybe sobering
maybe
up.
We can push.
And they think maybe we shouldn't do it. The other story, what happens there is that I was working. I didn't train for 3.5 years. I was a bouncer, so you know, afterwards we go to after parties with the bouncers. You know, it's not the most healthy lifestyle. And at New Year's, you know, after we were allowed to drink some, and we started drinking, and you know, I didn't have a real control on my drinking. Anyway, this guy comes to me and he says, "Hey, do you want to fight again?" And I said, "Sure." Who? And he says, "Frank Lobman." Frank Lobman, is he out? Because isn't he in jail? Yeah, he came out and he needs an opponent. I said, "Sure, I'll fight him." Now, 2 months later, they call me and they ask me where to send the posters. I don't remember anything from that conversation. So I go, "What posters?" They said, "From the fight." "Which fight?" "You and Frank Lobman." I said, "Me and Frank Lobman? Why would we fight?" I said, "Who said that?" He said, "You said that." "Where?" And I start thinking, I go, "Dude, yeah, I did talk to him. Did I really say yes to it?" So I didn't want to be a pussy, I didn't want to push out. So I said, "Okay, I'll take the fight." I had 3.5 weeks to fight for a guy who was like 52-0 with 47 knockouts. Not a smart idea. You know, I couldn't do my jumping rope. And needless to say, I lost the fight. You know, and it was not fun. But
was this a sanctioned fight?
That was a sanctioned fight, yeah. Okay. That was A-class Thai boxing in Holland, professional. It was a beast. Animal, the Animal was his nickname, Frank the Animal Lobman. Later on, he came to Pancras. He fought Ken Shamrock on Thai boxing rules. He kicked him in 1 round out with low kicks. And I asked him, I was praying, I said, "Please give me a rematch now." He says, "No," because that same event, I broke a guy's shin bone with a heel hook. And he goes like, "You crazy?
That was a Japanese
I'm not
guy.
gonna fight you. I just saw you breaking somebody's shin bone." And says, I said, "I want a rematch," but that never worked out. He became a friend of mine.
For this part, we're gonna have you select either or of the people I'm gonna spit out.
Okay.
So, Bruce Lee or Dan Inosanto?
You know, Bruce Lee, I mean, that's how everything started with me. I have to, you know, but Dan is a really cool guy. I actually did with his daughter two movies with Diana Lee Inosanto.
Oh, okay. Now, did Bruce Lee have an effect on you guys the same way like blacks and blaxploitation like really felt Bruce Lee? So was that like a major influence also all throughout in the martial culture for Dutch?
Well, for me it was like this. I was this sick kid. I was very sick when I was a kid. I spent a lot in the hospital, very bad asthma, very bad eczema, skin disease everywhere in my face and my arms. So I had to wear gloves. I was always the kid they picked on. And because they're afraid of it, you know, and they think it's contagious. You know, so I went to France and I sneaked into the movie theater with my brother. I was 17 years and older. We sneaked into Enter the Dragon.
Okay.
And that was the first time I saw Bruce Lee. And that was it. I came out, I go, "Oh my God, that's I gotta be like him. Nobody will mess with me again." And I started training, you know. Of course, my parents were very against it, so I always was mimicking. People were actually thinking I had a black belt because I would hold my foot up like this, you know, like all the things he did, I would just imitate.
Was this post your Taekwondo training already?
Oh yeah, this was when I was 12, and then and 2 years of begging my parents to finally they allowed me to do Taekwondo. That's where I started Taekwondo. But then 2-3 months in, I was doing really well. I was beating up the brown belts there, and I heard the people talking about me, you know, behind my back. I'm like, "This kid is just a kid." So my confidence
was really up.
Stopped booming up, and then I got in a fight with the biggest bully in town.
And your parents was like, "No more Taekwondo for you, boss."
No more, yeah, but I knocked him out. But I broke his nose in the process, so he had to go to the hospital. Police showed up. But that was it. It really helped. I never had a problem anymore. Everybody was right away, "Don't mess with that guy."
BJ Penn or Sakuraba?
Oh man,
tough one. I know.
Yeah,
I know. It's right here. One. Gun to your head. BJ Penn or Sakuraba?
You know, BJ is a good friend of mine, and I love his outfield. But Sakuraba. I mean,
tough one, right?
Yeah, it's a tough one. That's a very hard one. I don't even want to choose because you know, Sakuraba made Pride. So a lot of people they always try to rebuild, make a new organization in Japan now. I say it won't happen. Only when you find a guy like Sakuraba.
Right.
And that will never happen again because With the Gracies, he beat 4 Gracies. That is something that can never be duplicated anymore. So, you know, unless you have a guy like that, you're not going to get a company big. You need a very strong Japanese guy who beats really good outsiders.
And his wrestling ability with his wrestling showmanship really catered. He was a little like Caesar. People were throwing pedals
That was it.
at him at that particular time.
Super smart kid, man. I had, what a nice guy also. Always had fun with him. I was always very upset about, he didn't get paid a lot. You know, I always thought that was not cool.
I thought he retired a little too late and not as gracious as I would have loved. And Fedor were the two.
Yeah, but I think Sakuraba was because I think he got a lot of push. Like, hey, you have to take this fight, have to take this fight.
Right.
Like, for instance, when he fought Vanderlei, like right away, pretty much again after destruction, like he had the first time. Give him some guys, other guys. Let him build back up and his confidence. Then let him fight again. You know, but they were just, oh, now we're in big numbers, people watching. Let's do it again. They weren't protecting him. You know, and I think you really should. They started to think he was just God, I think. And nobody is like that. And sometimes it will backfire on you. Too many fights, too hard. You know, I heard he also likes to drink, you know.
All Japanese men do.
All that Japanese. So,
you know about
the combination. Yeah, oh yeah, well, me too. And at the time, you know, but I think sometimes you need to step back. You need a year, maybe, to come back from a fight. If it's a heavy loss, you know, you need to recoup, you need to get back your confidence, 100%.
Pride or UFC?
At that time I was Pride. There was nothing bigger than Pride. I had Dana White, he came to watch the show, he had Chuck Liddell with him, he was even competing in the tournament, remember, against Quinn. And I remember the opening, and I'm looking back at them, at Dana, and Fertitta was there also, and they were sitting, whoa, and he looks at me, I go, it's crazy, right? And it's what he said. He says, yeah, this is crazy. I mean, a small show would be 45,000 people. That was considered a small show. They had nothing smaller. You know, that Tokyo Dome, they had the event outside, you know, the 93 or 91,500 people.
That's amazing.
It was the craziest thing ever. People came in on parachutes. I mean, Aoki, pro wrestling. New Japan. Inoki, of course, because I was for New Japan. He came on a parachute in, and there was some wind. I mean, the wind was blowing. I go, this is gonna go wrong. I mean, there was, I think, 30 mile per hour wind at least. You know, so but it all worked. Takada was on the top of the roof. It was the craziest thing ever, but it was cool. It was the first time we saw Bob Sepp fighting against Nogueira with the pile drive. You know, that was the moment I thought, okay, now we have a death.
I was going to say that was almost the equivalent to Ricardo Arona trying to insist on the triangle.
Oh, yeah.
And boom.
He got hit so hard. And when you see Quentin arch back, he's arching back. So he's not straight, he's literally doing this.
Right.
And then slams him forward.
To springboard.
It's insane, the core power he has.
And finally, slowly but surely in the MMA forums, there's been a big debate about like, hey, is this, what happened to the art of self-defense in street fighting? Because everything's been cage-centric or ring-centric. Where do you think the future is going for teaching for self-defense?
Well, I think a lot of MMA will be involved, of course, and then you add the eye pokes and the kicking to the pills. It's like these guys, you know, it's so annoying. Oh, this guy fought 400 street fights and he's really good and he pokes your eye. I go, you think a mixed martial arts can do that? Poke an eye? Guess what? We can do it better. We have more stamina, more control. You know, it's a job to do. You think somebody's going to come close to my pills, I'm not going to kick his? It's going to happen. I'm sure it's going to happen. And if that guy was really that good, he would fight mixed martial arts, trust me. But they aren't that good. They're good in the dojo against all their students that they can pick out. You know? It's all so annoying. Unless you fought, nobody can say they can fight. Not a guy on the planet. Even Bruce Lee.
Yeah, absolutely.
As long as he did not compete. Now, they always tell me, what would happen to Bruce Lee if you would put him in a cage right now? Listen, I'm the biggest, huge Bruce Lee fan ever. He started everything with me. He would lose. But let's give him a year to adapt to this new style.
Right.
And then do it again. But straight from where he was at the time, he's not going to win.
No,
he's not going to win.
It's a big difference in training and athleticism.
But he picks up so fast. So he was already experimenting with it. We saw him doing arm bars, throws, he did everything already. So.
Now, for the audience, where can they get a hold of you and check out your gym? You have a fantastic facility here. What's the website or web address?
EliteMMAgym.com. That is this place. And then
Twitter,
Facebook, it's Bas Rutten /Bas Rutten. I got that. Somebody else had it, but we got it. And what is it? Bas Rutten MMA on Twitter. And that's pretty much anywhere I go. O2 Trainer, check the O2 Trainer out. And look at this nice shirt. Oh, my wife came up with this idea. How cool was that? And so you say addict, and they got addict, and then I come closer, they say short letters MMA. It's kind of an attention puller.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome.
That's awesome.
Plug 1 2 TV.